Hello and good Sunday to you. This is Doc Severson for the ReadySetCrypto OMNIA newsletter market update for Sunday, the 22nd of March. Got the S&P 500 up here, and this is something that we all need to be watching because this is going to be something that will gate all risk assets unless this thing is able to lift off the ground. So everything else is under pressure because of all the forced selling that's out there. This is something I talked to you guys months about when everybody was asking, hey, what happens in case of a crash? Is Bitcoin going to moon at that point? No, it's not, because if you go back to and look at what happened to gold back in 2008, everything gets tossed out the window. So if we look at something like this, we're going to look at a monthly chart, go to GLD. Notice that let's see if we're going to go back far enough. There we go. Here is 2008. Gold sold off all the way into the end of 2008 and then finally started to turn a little before everything else did. Okay, so it too suffered pretty heavily during these days, went from 101 to, dropped about 35%, which is about how much the S&P 500 has dropped right now. 33% before gold turned early and started to run, because people recognized the fact that we were going to debase the currency in the hunt for liquidity. So the same thing is probably going to be happening. Right now we're seeing gold selling off pretty strongly from recent highs. Same thing is happening, and this is what's affecting cryptocurrency as well too. All right, back to the S&P 500. Now there's something I want to show you here. This is the cash index of the S&P 500. So this is the original S&P 500. That is just an index. It is not, you can't buy shares of the SPX. You can buy shares of the SPY, which is an ETF, which is worth 1/10 of this value. But what I want to show you is the true underlying here. So if you go out to TradingView and start typing in ES, you'll see S&P 500 E-mini futures, and open up the pick list and you'll see down here ESM, which is the June 2020. This is the current front contract for the S&P 500. Now, you'll see that this market is closed, and I have delayed quotes. If you want real-time quotes, I think you have to pay more money or get a data feed for something like that. Right now is Sunday afternoon. The markets will not open. The futures markets will not open for another 2.5 hours. So it's about 3:30 Eastern time where I'm recording this right now. In 2.5 hours at 6 o'clock Eastern time, which is, I believe that is 2200 UTC, the futures markets will start opening. And this is where we've seen a tremendous amount of movement. And based on the news I'm seeing from Congress, which can't seem to get its act together to set up some kind of relief bill, it may not be another good open. We have seen every single Sunday night be limit down lately over the last couple of weeks. So I don't know if tonight's pattern is going to be any different, but if it is another limit down negative day, it's going to put more pressure on any other risk assets out there, including cryptocurrency. Taking a quick look at Bitcoin out here, you can see that this profile that we did about a week ago for the expected move, we almost hit that expected move in just a couple of days, but it's right back within the cone of probability, just similar to the cone of silence, maybe. So this is the 68.2% chance that the price is going to be in this cone by the time we get to the end of April. Okay, so that doesn't account for it even getting up to the 8,000 level, which is currently that overhead point of control. Now, Bitcoin's actually doing pretty well. After coming off a bottom of about 3,800, it actually doubled itself in just a couple of days. So there was a lot of demand, and we have to respect that demand going on. So a lot of panic bottoms. Remember, during a sell-off, during a bear market, there is no such thing as support. Now, if we had the volume profile, we can start to see these areas of there's support down here at about 5,000. But you can bet that if this is selling off like crazy, if you're in a panic, if you're fearful, you're not going to look at that chart and say, let me rationally examine the chart and see where support levels lie here. No, you're not going to do that. In a panic, people don't look at that. They just punch out. They just hit the eject button and they're out of the cockpit, hopefully with a parachute. That's the problem. People are irrational in times of fear and risk management. And it's difficult. I mean, this is something everybody has to get over, is like, do you really believe in something like this? So now we can see that former support at 8,000 is now overhead resistance, as is this level of resistance, which is about 7,200. So this, when we have trading that's in an area like this tends to generate support or resistance. And right now we're on the other side of that. So this is significant right now. We've got a couple of overhead obstacles, but if the price is able to put in a higher low and a higher high, remember, rule number 2 is reversals start from the inside out. But rule number 1 states that larger time frames dominate the trend. We're still in a weekly downtrend, guys. We've really been in a weekly downtrend for this entire time. This was kind of an anomaly. We got just above that level. We printed a higher high, but then, as we know, other things started to occur. So right now, this is where we're sitting. I do believe that if we do get some relief in the S&P 500, larger markets, if they start to rally, even as a relief basis, we should see Bitcoin going along for the ride. And then at some point, I believe we will see equity markets roll over again. And if Bitcoin cryptocurrency is going to be considered to be a hedge towards traditional assets, we will see them diverge at that point. Could be sometime this summer, maybe even by this fall, before that divergence occurs. Now that's BTC. Now, as I start to look at some other assets here, I'm not really that thrilled. This is Ethereum, and Ethereum, quite honestly, looks like a bear flag. Ripple looks like a bear flag. Litecoin looks like a bear flag. Everything looks like a bear flag. The only thing that's preventing me from saying that on Bitcoin is that we had such a strong bounce from here. It does not look like a bear flag. It looks like something trying to trend higher and trying to establish a higher low. One last thing for today's report is this coin called Cure Coin. I don't know anything about it, but obviously today has been just massive. So it could be relating to something to do with the health system. I don't know. That's for somebody else to figure out as to what fundamental value this has. Otherwise, this has the same signature as every other altcoin, which is mooned and then gets mercilessly pounded back down over the following few days. So this is definitely not something I would chase, even if this goes on from here. But fundamentally, it'd be interesting to see what the reason for this moonshot is. All right, folks, that is it for today's report. Thanks for listening. Have yourself a good rest of the weekend. Watch those futures at 6 o'clock Eastern in a few hours, and we'll see you tomorrow.